What is happening, everyone? Your thumb wasn't high enough.
Was it like this?
Yeah, it wasn't like he gives me the thumbs up when I'm supposed to go, and I didn't see his thumb, so I didn't do it.
And then
But
I banged my knuckle. So
nice,
that's
solid.
where
We're
that's where we're
doing
at.
great. This is press play again. If you can't tell, I feel like I'm going to into my Italiano. Anyway, it's press play again. It's me, Bailey, with my boy Matthew Austin, and missing one of my other boys, Omar Zaki. Poor boy couldn't come. He forgot his AirPods. He couldn't watch it at the gym. We like to
Yeah.
let Papa get his time in, so we're like, hey, whenever you can't do it, we'll cover your little ass. And guess what? We're covering his little ass.
And
Or
props
big
to
ass.
him. He's texting us like, I forgot my AirPods. I guess I could watch it with subtitles. I'm
And we're
like,
just like,
do
all
not
right,
do
you
that.
psycho.
Don't
No,
do that,
that's not
Omar.
how we're doing this. We're here for our Loki Wednesdays. I don't have a better name for it yet, but we're halfway through the show, so I doubt I'm going to come up with a better one.
It's not looking
Um,
good.
but we're here to discuss episode 3, Loki, Lamentis. I think that's how you say it. And
It's a
I
tight name.
am ready to talk about this shit. But before we get into that, I might as well give you the whole spiel. You can listen to us on Spotify, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and most importantly, Apple Podcasts. Leave us 5 stars, leave us a review. That would be great. You can also follow us on social media at Again Press on Twitter and at Press Play Again on Instagram. We post fun shit, sometimes funny clips, little I don't know, ditties, if you
There's a
will.
really funny one of you surfacing right now about Benjamin Button.
Yeah. I like to reference any movies that have to do with Brad Pitt. So
It's
that's
just a
just where
thing I
I'm at
do.
with it. And we're gonna be always posting our Bad Batch episodes on Monday mornings, and our Loki episodes will always be posted Wednesday night. We also just had, we posted our hype episode / ranking of the Fast and Furious franchise for you noobs out there.
Yeah, that's right. Call them noobs. Get them.
Yeah, I don't even know what that fucking means. And then we're going to be posting our review of the actual F9 at some point when Omar gets back from vacation this weekend. So that's going to be a hoot nanny.
Should go up Monday morning, but stay tuned because you never know.
Yeah, if not, you never know. So
You never
just
know
keep
with
an eye out
us.
for it. Exactly. Other than that, I didn't start a timer. I have to put a timer on myself because I could just
Otherwise,
talk for
I'll
like
talk
3
for
hours.
2 hours.
So I have to like keep myself timed. It's so pathetic.
I respect
know.
that.
Anyway, so we're here. We're talking about Lamentis. I think we're all still in awe with this show. This series has been phenomenal so far. We're already halfway through, which is so depressing. Because out of all the shows we've seen so far, and I've really enjoyed all of them, this is the one that I'm like, I feel like I could just have endless adventures with Owen Wilson and Loki. And now, no spoilers, you don't get Owen Wilson in this episode, so you
At
literally
all.
have
Zero.
you just see him like spastically running towards Loki again, and I'm like, great. So we get the sad
Loki!
part of
That's
Owen.
it.
And then he's gone. And that's fine. It just means we have one less episode with him in it. And that's kind of upsetting to me.
It is. It's funny, though, because I guess a lot happens in this episode. I didn't really think too hard about how that Owen Wilson's not in it until you just said that.
Yeah, I know. I immediately thought about it. The show ended, and I was like, well, fuck.
Well, that was a waste.
But anyway, before we talk about the episode as a whole, young Matthew, how did you feel about it?
Oh
my God. Don't do that again.
Yeah, I can't believe how good this show still is. The third episode, I think it's just as good as the last 2 episodes. I think there's definitely, I miss the buddy copness of Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was really charming.
I'm not gonna lie. It almost distracted me for the first half of the episode. What is the actress's name that plays Sylvie?
Sophia
Sophia.
Sophia DiMartino.
Okay, she like halfway through the episode, I'm only thinking about like how, man, this isn't quite as fun as Owen Wilson is with him. But then I realized I'm not giving her enough credit because she really is good, and it's kind of like
And she's not the same character,
right? But it's like we're so used to that, and it was so good. Like I just love Owen Wilson so much in this show that I was almost just being a little not fair. So the truth is, I think she's phenomenal in this episode, and we'll talk about a lot of that too. But it's undeniable that it's missing that aspect of it in this one, but I think it's totally made up for in this wild planet that they're on, that we're going to get into everything that happens there. I just loved everything visually with that place, the kind of self-contained story that's going on there, and the abrupt way this episode ends. I'm all for it. It was just like last week. So I had a lot of fun with this episode. I think it's just as strong. Like so far, this show has wowed me with 3 incredibly strong episodes. When this episode was wrapping up, Bailey, I was thinking in my head, I'm not exaggerating anymore. This is some of my absolute favorite MCU content at like period. Not just recent, but I'm like, this feels like the craziest it's been, and I love it. So yeah, this week was another big win for me. How about you?
Yeah, no, I respect the hell out of that because I agree. I think this show is just weird enough to where it hits that, like, I don't want to even say convoluted, but like
It
the
is.
convolution
It's a
that
little
like
bit.
we as us two enjoy. I'm not saying you people out there, y'all might not. It's fine, but I just love convolution. I think it's great.
In all forms.
I want it to be as complicated and weird and like puzzly as possible. So I've enjoyed that so much with this show. This episode definitely was my least favorite of the 3 so far, but I still really enjoyed it, and I still really like Sylvie. I think you're right. The charm is left a little bit, but I think it's because since this show is 6 episodes, they have to form these relationships like beyond quicker than you would normally have to. So we have to somehow believe that this person who was murdering all these people and like doing all of these terrible things, and he was hunting down and like so like ready to just either kill them or like take them captive, something, within 5 seconds they're like best friends, or not even best friends, but have that like rom-com, like teasing each other but really trying to help each other and figure things out kind of thing. And I think
Sure, yeah.
that was what kind of threw me off, because you're supposed to just like completely ignore everything else and just be okay with the movie magic that's happening necessarily. Like, you know
Well,
what I mean?
Yeah, kind of, but they're at each other's throats the majority of this episode.
They are, but it's so like I'm saying, it's so rom-com, like I'm
Yeah.
gonna tease each other kind of thing. And it was like that in the beginning, but I guess in my mind it faded very quickly, but it's because it has to fade within an episode.
Yeah,
Because
they have
there's
to
only
they have to
3
do a lot in
episodes left.
episode.
Yeah, so I think that's what hurts it in a sense. And I love shorter shows. I think miniseries are great. I just like a 10 episode miniseries is perfect. So like, or even an 8. So like, yeah.
So 6, yeah,
God.
6 is pushing it, but there's just a lot to get done in it. So
My Siri was talking to me on my watch. This is
really,
so
what
awkward.
does she want?
She just keeps doing it. I don't know. She's
She's
being a
not
bitch
stopping.
right now.
Siri, stop.
So it's one of those things where like, if I push all that aside, though, I still really enjoyed this movie. I still thought everything on this planet and being in space and the sci-fi feel you got of it, I'm like, oh, give me so much more of that. I want that nonstop at this point with MCU. So I loved that.
How
and
cool is it?
I still love Loki and Sylvie's whole like back and forth too.
Also, like, so they're on another planet, and it's also the year 2077 in the MCU. Isn't that just crazy though? Like, it's so cool seeing like the future, even if it's not on Earth. Seeing something so far in the future in the kind of MCU timeline. I love it.
We can just start talking about it, but the way they explain it all too. So we get them, and the beginning of the episode starts with them kind of ending the last episode. Like you see the whole like Owen Wilson being like Loki, and he's like
Don't
running
do
down
it,
the hall.
Loki, no.
So you get all that, and then they end up back at the TVA, and she literally like somehow found out where the Timekeepers were, because she found out from what's her name, Hunter C20. She finds out from her where the Timekeepers are, and she's looking for like the gold elevators. Gets all the way to the gold elevators, and then her and Loki have this awesome ass fight, which is so cool. And then he just like makes them go to this planet, Lamentis, which is the name of the freaking episode, which is awesome. But
awesome.
they go to this planet that's literally in the middle of like their doomsday, and a planet they go to a moon and the planet's about to crash
The
into
planet
the
is just gonna
moon.
crash into the moon. How awesome is that? That is
Oh,
some
it's-
like sci-fi shit that doesn't even have to be MCU. That could be just its own little like bizarre out there story. I loved that so much.
Well, it was like the fact that we kept seeing natural disasters like hurricanes, volcanoes, stuff like that. And then it jumps to the year 2077 where there is literally like people living on a moon and a planet's about to crash into it.
And it is like it's hyper stylized too. You know what it reminded me of, which it makes sense, but the planet has the feel of a Guardians of the Galaxy planet. And that's so cool because that is the same universe, and that's some of the only kind of like Cosmo space stuff that we've seen in the MCU. So it makes
like
sense
really
this would feel that
neon.
much. Yeah, neon pink.
And
like I love that whole vibe to it.
Well, the whole like aspect too of like them seeing this village trying to escape, and they're doing the whole like the rich people are getting to leave first, and it gave me like super Hunger Game vibes.
I kind of got that too, especially when they're on
like
the train in a
Hunger
little
Games.
bit. Yeah,
yeah. It's and I think that was
everyone's
the
like
point,
dressed to the
like-
nines, and
and it was like really weirdly styled. I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was like goofy and cool, and I really dug that. And then you get all the dialogue that happens with them on the train, and that's when you start finding like puzzle pieces start coming together, and you're kind of understanding like why Sylvie's doing what they're doing. And I don't think you find out everything, but they're giving us just enough answers to keep us hooked to it. So
well, one of the biggest things before they even get on the train, I think it's before they get on the train, right? Is when they're walking up to that, and no, never mind. I'm jumping ahead. When we find out about the like Owen
the
Wilson.
Timekeepers.
Yes. So
no, we can even. I don't even care. Let's talk about it because that blew. I love that. I love that idea.
That they're variants.
That like everybody that works for the TVA is a variant,
Which is
and they don't know they're variants.
They don't know.
The Timekeepers have convinced them that they were just made from.
They were created for that job. Owen Wilson literally, during that conversation that we praised last week about his kind of like look on life and just the chaos of existence, he thinks that he was created by these people for this purpose. And he wasn't, if we believe Sylvie.
But that's the thing. It plays on that. Like,
Yeah.
it is playing even more so on that conversation to where it's proving that he believes what he wants to believe, even if it's not true.
That's true. So,
and that's literally what he was saying. He was like, I don't care if it's not true. This is what I believe it is.
That's true. You're right. So that the way that conversation went last week, it seems like Owen Wilson's character, Mobius, right? He probably wouldn't even be affected that much by knowing this if he doesn't already know it. Because, he kind of just convinces himself, whatever. That's basically what he says, believe what you want to believe.
You find the difference is he's being tricked. Somehow. Right. We're assuming they're being tricked because you get that scene with Hunter C20 where it's showing her with Sylvie at like some bar in Mexico. And you're just like, oh, this is weird. I immediately was like, they were best friends on Earth, and then they both kind of got like taken. I don't know that's where my mind was going at the time. And then as the conversation's going on, you start seeing what's happening, and it kind of gets creepy where like you're realizing this isn't real. And it's, first of all, you're seeing how Sylvie's powers work, which is super cool.
Insanely cool.
And
really
you
cool.
See like the stronger the mind is, the more like intricate you have to be with taking them over, which is awesome to think about. But yeah, you kind of just mold their memories. And so then you think, okay, well, all the jet ski shit that
Mobius.
Owen Wilson, Mobius was talking about, it's like, was he just remembering something from his past life that like he just doesn't even think is a memory?
And he's like, I have this attachment to
though?
It's crazy. It's really crazy. I love that everything's connected that way.
If they're all variants, who do you think Mobius could be a variant
That's the next big thing. Is he a variant of a character that we know, or is he
it Doctor Strange?
Oh my god.
I don't know why. That's immediately who I just went to. I've never even thought about it until before this second.
Don't do that. Don't plant that in my head. That would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing.
He has no powers, so I guess that's why in my head I'm like, there's no way. But I mean, he didn't start out with powers.
True. That's exact. So yeah.
I don't know why that's where my mind first went. I think they have very similar personalities.
They do. I could see him being a variant of Doctor Strange for sure. Is Mobius a character from the comics? I
I'm
assume
not
he
sure.
is.
So this could be all ignorant of me to even
Could
say.
be. But
I
but
don't actually know.
the MCU has pulled twists on comic stuff before, so
Well, yeah, because I mean,
anything's still
technically,
fair game. But yeah, we obviously don't even have some of the knowledge that maybe some people listening to this do. So comment and tell us we're stupid or enlighten us, however you want to go
because
about it.
we also were talking on the last episode about Sylvie and how she wasn't a variant, but she's still very much acting like she's a variant.
She's
of
acting like a
Loki.
variant, but last week we didn't know. Wasn't the whole bombshell like mess up on Disney's part with the credits that they said her name was Sylvie in the credits? So at least that didn't end up being some huge reveal saved for the end that they messed up by crediting her. Like, if I assume now even more so that maybe it was done on purpose as an Easter egg hint, because if it was literally got revealed at the beginning of this episode. So I'm less inclined to think that was really a fuck up now, and I'm a little glad too, because that would have sucked if that was supposed to carry more weight. So right now we're not supposed to think this is. Well, I guess I don't know. Like,
well, so
he
I
keeps
guess
calling her Loki, and she says, "Don't call me that." So it's
I
interesting.
guess my thing is, so I think I guess it could go both ways. Like what Omar was saying last week, that it could be that she got messed with Loki and then received these powers because of it, and so because of that she resents him. However, either it got over it really quickly, or she's just like literally messing with him and trying to gain his trust to then stab him in the back. Those are two options. The other thing I'm thinking is it could either be that or MCU, like the Marvel universe they are creating now, is using Sylvie / Loki's variant as the same person. Like it's going to be both of them together, just her name's Sylvie, so it's less confusing for people watching.
I think that's what I'm more inclined to believe, especially because the MCU I think has combined characters before.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm thinking too, but I want to leave my two other options open for debate because I want to be right no matter what.
I want to have a 100% chance of victory.
So that's my way to do that.
Yeah, the show is definitely trying to make you think that she still is it's leading you along the lines of thinking that she's a variant that has kind of gotten so far away from just the core Loki that she doesn't want to be referred to that way anymore, but that she still originated that way. But that leaves room for twists and turns, and
I know
what the hell's gonna happen.
I also really do like on back to the train scene. I like that you see Loki kind of letting loose and being goofy again. Not that because he's been being goofy, but this was like on his new level where he is acting like a god at Asgard again, that like can do whatever he wants kind of thing.
He 100% is, and
I like when he acts like that.
Well, and it's really cool because it follows one of the most vulnerable moments we've seen from him for sure. Like just discussing love, and then also a huge moment for the MCU in general is him coming out like officially as bi, which that I don't think we've had like a core character in the MCU ever come out that way that we know of. So that's a monumental moment for just everything. For the show, for these movies and everything. So that's fantastic. And it's followed up by like you're saying, him kind of letting loose again while also being a little tipsy and drunk, which was fantastic.
You love it.
I loved it. I was laughing out loud a lot at that stuff. And like I said, that kind of core moment where he's talking about that, and also just the kind of delicacy of love and trying to make
being alone and stuff.
I found the metaphor he was trying to do with the dagger was really interesting to me, because the way he's explaining it's really kind of like an accurate, like dark obviously take on love, but it's like it's going somewhere, and then he's kind of like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense, right? Why did I do that? But then it's kind of just showing his vulnerability even more, because a lot of what he's saying it sounds like somebody that is gone through a lot and lost things and lost somebody important and stuff. So I thought all that was just, everything on that train was handled so fantastically, and like I said, just a monumental moment for this whole series too. It's all packed into that. This episode had a lot of stuff in it like that just really just elevated all this.
Yeah, I feel like they handled it in a really good way too, just because they didn't make a big deal out of it. Like it was more said casually but sincerely, and I think that's the way you should always handle things that should feel normal.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't feel like this crazy thing is happening, even though it's great that it did, but like it's a normal part of life that
Right.
people go through.
Yeah.
So it needs to be handled in a normal way.
Exactly. It wasn't
and I'm
even
glad it was.
Well, yeah, it's really not shown off as like this huge twist or reveal or like where you have gasps or anything, and they don't even hang on it for very long. It very much is just something that comes up in the conversation, like a blink or you miss it kind of thing. And the only reason why it's not really missable is just because of how huge it is. But it props to them for handling it that well during Pride Month too. It's really cool, and I'm really proud of this series for doing that.
They've been doing wonders for everything they've been doing lately in the MCU with all these shows, and it's I'm so happy to see things progressing.
Yeah.
But I also am happy to see it done in like such a great way, but also this show just being as amazing as it is. Like the whole train scene and everything that happened. Wait, what? What's so funny?
So I don't really take as many notes when I watch this anymore, so I only have a couple things I wrote down here. Somebody's entered Bailey's. Oh, look, it's the birthday boy. It's Bailey's brother Michael's birthday today. So he had to drop off the dog.
Please, no, she's going to jump off. She's bugging. She's trying to get in here. Put her on the floor at least. I'm so sorry.
She just wants to be in frame. Look, she's
all right. As long as she's there. My bed is very high up, so if she falls, I
don't worry.
Lunge.
I've got eyes on her. She looks very content right now.
She's also blind, everyone. So if she's looking around, it's because she can't see where this noise is coming from.
Oh, poor Gracie.
But anyway, what were you gonna say?
So I was looking at the couple. I've got like 3 notes that I wrote down, just things that I found really funny in this episode that I didn't want to forget. It's actually really funny that Mike came in and what he just said to us? He said hi. One of the things that just made me laugh is we're talking about the train scene. Gracie's getting close to jumping. Right just there. You could just hold her on your lap. She'll probably be really happy.
Come here. Oh. This is a mess.
Here, wheel yourself back, grab her, grab the goods. Okay, yeah, I'll talk to the people. Hello, audience. One of the things that I really that I thought was really funny though is when he gets onto the train and he's got the helmet on and everything, and he's just trying to act like a guard or whatever he's supposed to be, and he's just like, "Passengers, hi." Just, that got an audible gasp, or he's like, "Good evening, passengers, hi," and it's just that got a really good kick out of me. I also, there was something right before that with the when they're walking to the train and you kind of see all the meteors coming down. There's just a dumb little thing that I noticed.
I love all that.
So like all that is so much CGI, right? Like it has to be CGI. I kind of praised this show last week with how good I think all of it looks, because so much has to be filmed in front of green screens. Like they're not on location on this freaking planet. So it'd be really easy for a lot of this stuff to just feel like background fodder, I guess, like just stuff they're just adding in behind them. But all these meteors are coming down, and there are moments in the conversation that they have when they're just walking where you see him he glances up at the sky so quickly and then back and just kind of moves out the way slightly. Like they're not making a big deal of it at all, but it's like he's like watching the meteors to make sure they don't like land and hit them. And they're not doing it for jokes. They're not doing it for anything other than like it seems to establish realism with this like fantastical world that we all know is CGI. And I love stuff like that. Like I love that there's that much attention to detail, and that's on everybody, right? That's on the direction and what they know they've got there, and that's also just on his acting that he's able to so nonchalantly do that and just immerse us more into this fantastical world. I don't know. I love
I will say one thing that like kind of didn't like irk me or anything. I still think it was great. I think just because of how seasoned Owen Wilson and
Tommy Boy.
Yeah, Hiddleston. I couldn't think of his last name. I was gonna say Middleditch.
Wait, who is that? Because I always almost say that.
Harry Potter, I think.
Oh, the Fantastical Beasts. No, who's that?
No, I don't know. I can't think of it. But anyway, I'm him and Owen Wilson are so just easy flowing with their lines that it never feels like anything's rehearsed. With him and Sylvie, it more seems like when they were going back and forth fighting, it's like I feel like they've rehearsed this like a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And that's like it was just so quick and like one after the another, you're just saying lines sometimes.
Yeah.
And it kind of took me out of it a little bit. It wasn't that bad. It's just one of those things where like that's why this is probably my least favorite of the 3 episodes. I still loved it. It just was the one thing that I think was a little too I don't know, messy for me.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where when you're seeing something that's practical, like I would put their chemistry up there. Like it's just top
Yeah, their
notch.
chemistry was fine.
Well, no, and I mean, our boys that we're talking about, Owen Wilson
Oh,
and
yeah.
Tom Hiddleston, but it's like we've been exposed to that for 2 solid episodes, so it's like everything, even really good acting, just looks crazy. What are you doing?
She's all tangled up in my headphones.
She's like, I'm bringing this whole train down, Bailey. You don't
Right, honey,
understand. From the
I
moment
love
I
you.
entered this room. But yeah, so I think it's impossible. It's like you see greatness and everything seems subpar after that. So that's why, like I said, halfway through the episode, I had to just do like a check, and I'm like, this really is still really good. I miss Owen Wilson. How can you
Yeah.
deny that? You can't.
So I wanted to bring up too, towards like the end of the episode. I don't know if there's anything you're missing, but the scene where they're trying to get back to the ship because they realize they can't get anywhere off of this planet without their like device that they needed that broke. And I'm like, man, they seem really like in a pickle. Like, I don't understand how this is supposed to get fixed. But they are going and chasing and running after this rocket that's about to take off. And the whole sequence of them running through this city, this is going to sound like it's an insult, but it's not an insult. It reminded me and felt a lot like a video game sequence. Like when you're going through this big part that you have to get through really quickly. And like you're not doing that much when you're controlling it, but you're pressing like a button here and there to make them go certain ways.
Right.
It felt a lot like that, but it was in a cool way.
Well,
I just was like, I feel like you're following them the whole time. So
right.
It's a cool way to look at it.
And you know why it feels like that, right?
Why?
Because that whole scene was they do the trick that they do in True Detective season 4, where it is one continuous shot that just never cuts.
No, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It was like one continuous shot, so that's why it felt like that. But it was also, I feel like they were very like, over here, like right this way, come on, and you're just like, oh, this
like,
is
grab my hand, come with me.
I feel like I'm playing Uncharted or something.
Yeah,
like,
I love when I feel like that must be something that directors use so much to just immerse you like completely in it, where you feel like stuff on every side of you basically, and that it's a trick that works every time. And I love that. I felt what you're saying too, almost to the point of where that was the most I've ever noticed these actors kind of feel like they are like moving into position, like what they need to do for it. Like I could almost see Tom Hiddleston look like he's kind of like running through something and he knows in his head where he needs to stop. And that probably sounds ridiculous because I could be just totally seeing things, but that was just a vibe I got in a couple of the shots from that. But I mean, they're actors, man. Like he reminds me of a theater actor. Like some of the stuff he's doing there, I was like, he could be doing this on a stage, and it would be like
very much
like, oh my god, mind blowing. So like, if that doesn't always translate 100% to the screen, who fucking cares?
I'm not like positive, but I almost think he did Broadway or something along the lines of that. But yeah, because like he very much could be a theater actor for sure.
Yeah, it was more just like seeing a little of that bleed through and thinking that was a really cool thing. So
it is a cool thing. And that's the thing. The whole sequence of them doing this, it was so fantastical and cool. And you have all these neon lights and meteors coming and still having to like beat up these guards that are for some reason trying to stop you, even though the world is about
let us just get off this moon.
That I'm just like, how if I was a guard?
I
saw people running because they're literally about to die
like, hey, if
anyway.
You think you can get on the ark, just fucking get on it.
No, you don't tell them anything. You just shut the hell up and try to go too. Like what? I don't understand how
doing their job till the end.
I just I couldn't like comprehend that as a human being. Like you run for your life. You don't like what? Anyway, but the part that was so cool, even when we got after all of that, is when you see the rocket get destroyed, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like. That part was really cool because you just saw, and it's cool in a sad way, but it's cool nonetheless that like everyone at the exact same moment just all lost hope, which is so depressing to think about because you're literally watching these people who are about to all die, and you know they're gonna die no matter what. So it's just
it's
heart-wrenching.
It just makes the entire story that episode 3 told just like a tragedy, basically. Like it's just a self-contained tragic story. Yeah, but this episode, again, we talk about Owen Wilson's not there. We talk about how whole episode is on this weird planet. This episode feels the most disconnected from the other two, but I don't even really think that it is. I mean, it's still very much this is where they'd be next, but it's just you're not in the TVA headquarters anymore. You're not world building as much as you're kind of experiencing this self-contained story. And with how this episode played out, it has potential to just be one of my favorite episodes of like a TV show. And that's, you know me, I'm the person that like my favorite episode of The Leftovers is International Assassin. Like these episodes that are like a little mini movie. And I love how when it ends like this, because we know inevitably this isn't the end. They are somehow going to power that thing and get off here. We just don't know how. But kind of when you go back to rewatch this stuff,
it's someone's going to show up.
Or someone's I'm gonna ask you in about 20 seconds who's gonna show up, but I love when it kind of has that abrupt ending. And if you ever wanted to go back and consume this episode by itself, it is just kind of like this sort of dark episode that ends like kind of horribly for them. And it's just to me that's like a really good story told that doesn't necessarily have a happy ending like right off the bat. And it with all the themes going throughout it too, it just kind of correlates with how they're talking about love and kind of like loss. So I really liked that. That's why I think I enjoyed this episode so freaking much. Who do you think might save them?
So I have 3 ideas.
Ooh.
1, my first one, probably Mobius. I feel like that just makes sense.
It does.
2, one of the Timekeepers.
I can finally see these lizard people.
Just like
what are they?
That one of them's gonna pop in and be like,
do they have tails?
Like he knows now that like 2 Lokis know what's going on, kind of thing.
He's like, this is too much.
So that, and then either that or another Loki variant. That's my least likely, but I want it to happen. Like I think that would be so cool if that happened.
It'd be wild because
I know it won't. So
yeah, you don't know that for sure.
I don't, but that's the least likely one I believe will happen. But I would probably scream if it did. I'd be like, yes, this is the beginning of the 3 Musketeers featuring 3 Lokis. I would love it. I would absolutely adore that.
What if Mobius is a variant of Loki too?
Dude, that was another one I was thinking of. So whenever I was telling you the variants, Doctor Strange came to mind, but also Loki came to mind. And that would make sense why they butt heads.
It would make sense why they butt heads. And it makes sense why he had kind of the softer spot.
How
for
cool
him.
would that be if Mobius is?
I'd love it. I mean, the show.
Again, we could be idiots, and Mobius could just be a character in the MCU. But
yeah, this show is so out there and bonkers, and it's already done enough out there and bonkers shit that it's gonna have a really hard time letting me down. Like I remember WandaVision kind of going into like it was more episodes, but kind of at the halfway point.
Like when you found out the secret.
Remember,
because they built the secret up so much.
Remember, the halfway point was where it was like, oh, this feels like they resolved too much. I really hope it gets crazier from here on out. And it did, and it didn't. It had some. Yeah. It definitely had epic moments after that. But I feel like the kind of like the jig was up at that point. Whereas Loki halfway through, it is somehow still all bets are off. It is somehow still just we are deeper in the hole than we were in the first episode. We don't know really anything else. Like we're advancing the plot 100%, but there's so much shit that can still happen. And I obviously want it to go crazier and crazier, but it's already done so much that if the second half of the show is kind of bringing it back to Earth and making it all make sense, the MCU timeline, I'm not even going to be really that bummed out. I just think the show's already accomplished so much. As long as it's not bad, I'm game for whatever they want to do. I don't really have expectations or things that I'm like, man, he better show up or else.
Which makes sense. But it's one of those things where I agree. I don't think anything's going to mess it up. And I think they did the perfect thing of thinking they gave, like, you think the mystery is the Loki variant. You don't know who it's going to be. You think that's going to be the big mystery. And then they reveal that immediately. So then you, as the viewer, are like, oh my God, I don't even know what this big, like, is the TVA supposed to be it? Is the Timekeeper supposed to be it? Is there something else that we don't know about? Like, I really don't know what exactly is supposed to be revealed at this point, which I think is the best part of it. Like,
it is.
That you don't know what the mystery is even supposed to be yet. You're just finding it out halfway through the show. And there's only 3 episodes left. So you're just like, cool, this is great. I love it.
I love it.
So I think that's it for me. Are you wrapped up or you got something else?
No. Yeah, that's basically it. That wraps up this wild,
Put a
crazy
little bow
episode.
on it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Oh, man. But yeah, I'm ready for the next episode. I have no idea what's going to happen. I can't even predict what will happen next, but
there's no
all
point
I know
with
is
this show.
I'm along for the ride. Yeah, and I don't even want to freaking predict it. Y'all can predict it. Y'all can leave comments. It doesn't mean I'll agree. No, I'm kidding. I might.
But it was like, comment. Go ahead. Watch what I'm going to say.
I freaking dare you.
No, please comment.
Seriously. But anyway, don't forget to tune in for this again next week, Wednesday nights. We'll be back, baby, better than ever. We'll have Ohms again. He'll be able to tell us how stupid our opinions are.
He'll be like, you guys are nuts. You guys
Y'all are
got
all
way
dumb.
too carried away. Doctor Strange? Are you kidding
Come
me?
on. You know it's going to be
He's
Tobey
like,
Maguire.
y'all are starting that again? You know it's going to be Toby. Yeah, check out our Fast and Furious episode, like Bailey said. F9 review should be out
coming
Monday.
soon.
Bad Batch probably Monday too. Got a lot of exciting stuff
And then
coming.
we'll be back for Loki. So yeah.
I
But
can't wait.
you
Wednesdays are
guys
the best.
stay right and stay tight out there. And this has been fun. Stay sharp.